Hello, friends. I hope you're doing well. This is Mr. Tavares, of course. Trying something a little different in that I'm going to pre record a lesson to help us save some time and then allows you to kind of go back and sort of look at it again if something didn't quite make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and start our show here and give you a little introduction. So for science today, we are talking about, we first talked about collecting data through a science notebook. Drawing pictures, adding labels, writing down descriptions, that sort of thing. That's the sort of practice you're going to need all year and for the rest of your life, really. Then we talked about discussions, about having a good discussion with discussion prompts, such as I agree with someone because of what they say, or I disagree with this idea because, or I'd like to add to, that sort of thing. So we share ideas with each other rather than argue, even if we disagree. And now we're going to talk about organizing our thinking into a table or to a chart of some kind. And this is what's called a summary table. Now, what you're seeing here is not one, but this is going to show us our learning target and our success criteria. So first, today what we're going to do is how we can communicate our scientific thinking by organizing it, which I'll explain in a minute. Now, by the end of this, we want to see if you can complete a summary table with details on your observations and your learning. And then the question is why? Well, if you organize your thoughts, it makes it a lot easier to find it and share later. It's countless times when students had a really good idea or they came up with a great solution or they found information or learned something, and then they either didn't write it down or they tried to remember or they scribbled it on a piece of paper or it was really messy in their notebook and it just didn't help them at all. And then they couldn't find it, they couldn't remember. And so it's really hard to share your thinking if it's a mess. And so this will certainly help you with your thinking. So let me just share here. This is a science conference. This is when scientists from around the world will get together. And you'll notice there that there's a big group, and then here's someone on a big screen. And that sounds fascinating. This isn't a discussion. This is called a lecture. And this is where they're just giving you a lot of information. A lot of teachers are guilty of that, especially me. But useful, but not necessarily a great way. In fact, if you look at that screen, not very organized, is it? Kind of hard to tell what it is. In fact, it's very hard to tell what it is because there's no organization there. So a discussion involves usually a small group of people and you're working toward a common goal, as you know. So like these scientists here, they're looking at something that they've been working on together, a project. And you'll notice how they're all engaged, they're all having this discussion and they're sharing ideas. Now, the problem is we often have a lot of ideas, a lot of things to say, and this is the kind of thing that we create. Now, this is from an adult many, many years ago. This was a science notebook from someone in England. But can you read that? Are you able to understand anything that's there? Does it make any sense? I mean, there's lots of information here, and you can tell by the spots it's kind of old. Not very helpful, not very helpful. And unfortunately, a lot of student notebooks are kind of scribbly like this too. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So a summary table acts like an organizing cabinet, something like this. It has boxes where you're able to put information, put things in, organize. So if I was asked you to please find the blue bowls, you're able to find them pretty quickly. If I asked you to find the silver chess, you're able to find it pretty quickly. And the same with the summary table. And so this is what it looks like. And you'll see all different kinds. But for the one we're going to use today, what this has is first, and I will go ahead and I'll mark this up here. First is you've got these essential questions. Let me go to my pen. So this is the question you're trying to answer. This is what tables are for, and that this is designed to help you to solve a problem or to answer a question and then collect your information. So what you have is the activity you're doing, which is what we did, and then what you observed, which means what'd you notice? You don't have to say anything else, just this is what I noticed, is what was happening. So if it's an experiment or an observation, you're going to do that. Then what was new? What did you learn about it? Okay. And then, so tells you some of the things you may have learned you didn't know before. And this last one is what I call the big kahuna, which is the answer to the question. How do these ideas of how you observed and learned answer this essential question? Okay. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to download the summary table, which we were going to use. Some of you have already done it. Some of you have already watched the videos, but not everyone has. And so this is a chance to review how to do it. And we're going to do the first one together. And then your assignment is to do the other two on your own. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to end our show. And no, I don't want to keep all those red lines. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go to the internet, because that's where Canvas is located. And I'm going to go here to my Canvas link. And if you should know how to get there by now, but if not, just go to that page. Now, if your page shows up like this, of course, what do? I go to my dashboard. And then what's next? What do? I go to my headquarters. And then what's next? What do? Can you guess? Yes, today's adventure, click here. I mean, it's in yellow. Come on, people, it's right there. And of course, if you don't have your daily class schedule, it's right there too. But here, I'm going to click on that. All right, now this is today's. I did this today, but as in Monday, but you will be looking at a different page, but it'll have the same link. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here and go, okay, well, we're talking about right there, summary tables under science. So it says gathering data and having a discussion, great to collect your thinking. Organize your thinking in a chart, even better. So what we got to do first, if you haven't already, is download the summary table that you're going to use. So I'm going to click on that. And then you'll see down below, it should start to download. Once that's done, you're going to click on that and it'll appear. Now, if by chance you don't see this bar down below of where it's at, you can go to this brown folder, this yellow folder here at the bottom, click on that, and you can go to your downloads. And when you click on your downloads, there it is. Okay, now you see I've already done it before, and so that was the first copy. So you can also do that. And then you can just drag it to your desktop. Okay. Now here, I've opened this in downloads, but I need to save it somewhere so I don't lose it. So this is what's called a PDF, which is a type of file that we use for a lot of text and words. And so I'm going to go here. You could print it if you want to, go to the print feature, but you can also go here to download, and this will allow you to download this document onto your desktop. So like here it says, go up here to desktop, and then I'm going to go ahead and save that right there. Okay. Now I'm going to close this particular window, but I'm going to leave this, this canvas open. I'm just going to minimize it. Okay. And then there's the summary. Okay, I'll make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. Now, when you click on it, sometimes if you go over here to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see what looks like a pen, the tip of a pen. And so you can sign this document. So if you click on that, and then you can ignore that. I'm going to go here and I'm going to like draw a box. You can like actually make a text box, and I can type in text, and then a strange language. What I can do is that I can write my answers here like this. Okay, so I can say this was blah, 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 okay, and so on. All right. Now I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, let's see here. I think there's another way. I'm going to pause here for a second because I think let's try this AB up here. Let's try that. Add text. Let's see here. Because there's one here that I need to find. Let's try this. Okay, and then enter. Oh, there we go. Enter. You like that? Mr. Tavares has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay, so there we go. So you just hit the enter key when you get to the end there, and you can write things down. So it's not too hard. And then if you just drag it around, and you can make you highlight the letters. Make it smaller or bigger, that sort of thing. Okay, not sure what this. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so let's try that. I'm just having too much fun. Okay, so that is text. If you go back here to what I learned, you can click on that, and that will help type it. Or you can go here to the AB, and then you can type, and then push enter, and that's there. Okay, so that's a great way, and just click on it, and then you can do the trash. And trash it. Okay, so that's our, and that was there. I put that there before for you. Okay, so you're going to use this page to type in your thinking. So let's do the first one together. Now, what we're looking for is how do each of the main characters demonstrate scientific thinking and practices? In other words, how do the characters of these stories show that they're using science thinking and they're acting like a scientist? So to do this, we have three stories. All right. So the first one, Ada Twist, scientist. Okay. So I'm going to go back here, see where I was on this section here about filling and signing. I'm going to go close. So I still have my hand here. And if I click on my right button, it'll give this, it'll just say open web link in browser. We'll see if that works. Ta-da. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch just the first part of this, and then we're going to fill in some of this summary table, and then I'll let you do the rest. Okay. So I'm going to make this a little larger, and I'm going to play.
Scientist by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. Read by Miss St. Germain. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and made her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?"
Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back. So let's minimize this and go back to our file. Now, so far, what have I observed? How she is demonstrating scientific thinking and practices. So I'm going to go, let's go back here to sign. I'm going to go fill in my text. There we go. So I'm going to say, okay, what did I notice? I noticed that she observed everything. Shiga, I don't know what that means. All right, observed everything. Enter. She was curious. I noticed that. I noticed she seemed to want to know everything. It's going to go past there, so I'm going to click on the E and click on that. And I'll adjust my words a little bit. Okay, so those are things I observed. Okay, that's just in the story itself. I may have observed that she didn't talk. I may have observed that she had a brother and she had some parents. I may have observed that she was really messy when she would go and discover it. So there's lots of things I noticed. But for time, I won't go through all of them. Now, what have I learned so far? What have I learned so far? Well, I haven't learned a lot yet, but let's go here. Let's click on that and go, what have I learned? Well, I can tell that scientists, let's see, let's try this. Well, let's try observation is a good way to learn. In other words, she's observing a lot to try and look at things and tear them apart. That's one thing that I noticed already. So asking questions. Well, I don't quite know yet what happens when she says why. So let me go back up to this. Let's go back to the video.
Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why do we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why. Once again, she drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out."
Okay. So she is a born scientist from what it looks like. So there's a lot of things I can write down. There's a much more that I observed, such as the questions she asked. I learned that a scientist asks questions such as, did you catch that? Why, what, enter, how, when, etc. Now, the last thing is, how do these ideas connect to our essential questions? Well, how do the main characters demonstrate scientific thinking and practices? Well, that should be pretty clear. She has shown it. I'll just to save time, I'm not going to type this in for now, but I should type in things such as, well, she's shown that observing and experimenting with and asking questions is the kind of thing a scientist does. She's curious. She wants to know why things are the way that they are. And so rather than just ask a bunch of questions, you notice how she was getting her hands dirty, getting right into it, taking things apart, going through, exploring. She wanted to actually learn for herself. So that just shows that she demonstrated being a scientist by the things she did and the things she said. Okay. Now it's your turn. And so you're going to do the same thing with the most magnificent thing. And what do you do with the problem? And so your assignment is to watch those videos and then to fill out this form, just like I did. If you have any questions, of course, I'm here to help. But otherwise, good luck.